90 Day Fiancé, The Last Resort, Season 2, Episode 9 recap. We left off and most of the couples are at the party being housed at the honeymoon suite. Stacey ends up showing up and so does Ari. Everybody's sitting around and they get talking about what do you want to do tonight? And Jasmine, of course, is like, I want to be with my husband. And Gino is like, no, 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 not going to happen. So the couples try to intervene and talk through it and basically figure out what's going on. And so Gino reiterates that we are having fights almost every single day. And when we're having fights, I don't want to be with you like that. And Jasmine's like, yeah, but a lot of the fights are about us not being together. Gino does make a good point, and I think Rob also kind of talks about it as well, about how Jasmine is not doing the work that is needed for Gino to be in a place where he feels like their relationship is in a better place and that he wants to be intimate with her. So Gino's like, I don't want to do that with you because I don't feel that we're in that part of our relationship, and I don't want to do it with you if you're yelling at me every single day. And instead of them addressing what are the arguments about, which some of them are not being together, but they need to table that and say, okay, us not being intimate is no longer something that we are going to fight about or talk about until we can work through these other issues. And that if Gino can see that she is working on that and improving that, that he will be more likely to then work on the physical part of their relationship. But instead, she brings up bringing another person to the relationship just so she can have somebody physically to be with because he's okay with, being by himself. The next morning, the couples get up and they all go to a remote campsite and they are going to have a night in the desert. Josh shows up in his car and I love that Rob makes this comment like, oh, don't be so impressed, it's just a rental. Then during the between the sheets, he's like, actually, it's not a rental, it's one of many cars he had. And I think it's funny because Gino says, wow, that car costs more than my whole house, which he lives in Michigan and he lives in a townhouse. And I don't know how much he paid for it, but there's places in the United States where you can buy full-on homes for under $100,000. Florin's like, calm down. It's not like it's a Ferrari, blah, blah, blah. Jasmine is just checked out. She is done. She does not want to do any of the things. She doesn't want to stand next to Gino. She doesn't want to participate, nothing, because last night Gino said that he is done with the relationship. He doesn't love her anymore. He wants to put no effort into it. And she is now reciprocating that and feeling that. Eventually the therapist talks to them. They all decide that they're going to deal with it and table it for another night. So the tents get put up and then they all sit around for group discussion. One of the therapists comes back and she does this exercise where she kind of hypnotizes everybody and they have to think of a time where they really hurt their partner and then how they imagine that should have gone. And this is when Julia decides to bring up that at some point, 4 or 5 years ago, he came to Russia to meet her family and she had an ex who was there and the ex and her were kind of talking about getting back together. The trip did not go well. He leaves and then she ends up kissing her ex-boyfriend. They didn't specify if at this time they were already married, they were still early dating. She also says we were talking about breaking up, but it doesn't sound like they actually broke up during that time. And so she says it's not cheating because it was just kissing and he says that absolutely was cheating. And he basically says he can't look at her anymore and then that's where it ends for this episode.